Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Ashwarya Kapoor. Let's get you the day's biggest stories. Earthquake death toll reaches 5,000. Nepal Prime Minister figure could cross 10,000. Teams step up relief operations while aid pours in from around the world. Home Minister Rajnath Singh advocates strong anti-conversion law, assures strong action against elements disturbing the secular fabric of the country. Major crackdown on foreign-funded NGOs. Home Ministry revokes licenses of 9,000 foreign organizations, citing violation of FCRA norms and non-filing of returns. Indonesia executes 8 drug-convicted smugglers, invites diplomatic backlash from Australia, Nigeria and Brazil. Well, nearly 5,000 people are now declared killed in the Nepal earthquake as rescue and relief operations pick up in towns as well as sub-mountainous areas. Now, the Nepal Prime Minister himself said that the toll could rise beyond 10,000, with many areas still out of reach of rescue teams. Meanwhile, aid in the form of relief supplies has begun to pour in, but distribution remains a big challenge. Here's a report.
A faint sound of a victim trapped under rubble. Rescue ops mounted in seconds, a flurry of digging and excavation. Ultimately, a body or more pulled out. Some injured yet alive, some not so lucky, adding to a sharply rising death toll.
I've been so scared. And the whole night we had these shakes.
This is Bhaktapur, once a rich conglomeration of ancient temples, many of them UN World Heritage Sites, a hub of Nepal's tourism industry. A UN estimate says nearly 8 million people have been affected by the earthquake, more than a quarter of Nepal's population.
We are living here not conveniently, but it's not easy to stay. And some old people and some other women, child, so they are getting sick, and we are not getting medicine and some rescue and support for us. So even in the open space we are living here, it's very terrible.
It's worse in mountainous areas where avalanche alerts mean operations are frequently halted. Helicopters have been pressed into service in many areas, taking out injured people, flying in aid material. But it's a slow process. Many areas remain unreached even now. The only silver lining is still a faded one. Distribution of aid that's rushing in from around the world remains at a crawl. Supplies pile up at Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport. Lack of equipment and expert personnel means appeals for help in many cases can't be met. Besides Nepalese police and paramilitary and locals, rescue teams from a large number of nations are involved in rescue work. More are being flown in. In many places, India's military forces and NDRF personnel are at the forefront of operations.
6 helicopters here. We are increasing to 8 by getting 2 more helicopters to Barko and another airbase northwest of Kathmandu. And so far we have rescued about 250 people and dropped 4 tons of relief material.
देखिए ये बहुत बड़ी त्रासदी आई है और जितने भी यहाँ पहाड़ी क्षेत्र हैं इस देश के वहाँ पे काफी जान और माल का नुकसान हुआ है.
The Indian ambassador to Nepal, along with the interministerial team that's been flown out from India, are also coordinating closely with rescue teams. As bodies pile up, authorities have started mass cremations on a war footing. Fears now arise of disease and a humanitarian crisis. Here too, it's a race against time, against strong odds. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And more than 2,500 Indians have returned from Nepal since last night. India has asked its remaining citizens in the earthquake-hit country to remain patient, saying that each one of them will be brought back home. Over 6,000 Indians have been evacuated so far, and many of them shared their horrific experience of the disaster.
On Tuesday, Indian ambassador to Nepal, Ranjit Rai, met the survivors of the massive quake that shook the region last Saturday. The survivors shared their ordeal with him and sought relief. Despite over 6,000 Indians returning home safely, there are still more to be evacuated, as the disaster is slowly turning into a humanitarian crisis of Himalayan proportion. Angst among those still left out is growing. But the government has assured to reach out to maximum people with relief.
जेंट्स सब है सब लाइन में लगे हुए हैं 4 घंटा 5 घंटा से लाइन में है लेकिन कुछ कोई हम लोग को गाड़ी का कोई पता नहीं चल रहा है कब आएगा क्या आएगा रात में जाएंगे दिन में जाएंगे कब जाएंगे हमको कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है
We stay about 5-6 hours there, but we didn't get the flight. We pay the money, then also we are not getting the flights. So again we came here, but we are standing 2-3 hours. We are not getting anything. Not the water also, or a single drop of water also we are not getting.
But on the ground, the NDRF and Air Force personnel are having a tough time tackling the challenges. Poor connectivity, lack of electricity, and frequent aftershocks and rains are hampering the operation. Lack of capacity at the Kathmandu airport prompted the government to go for optional route like roads. There are efforts to bring back stranded Indians on buses to the bordering states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. Thousands more have returned since Monday night.
Big movement of Indians was by road. Approximately 4,000 people came back, are on the way back. They were brought back. They are being brought back in 80 buses. We would like people to understand now is that the bus route is probably the best way of coming back because it is not affected by weather.
We've been standing there since 20 hours. And just one flight was there. So pathetic from our side and pathetic from their side also.
From their side?
No facility was there. No money with us. So it was horrible and terrible.
4 दिन का भूखा है हम लोग अभी बाल बच्चे लेकर के ही भूखा हुए हैं वहाँ खुला मंच है उसमें हम लोग बैठ करके दिन रात बैठे हुए रहते हैं आज भी भूकंप हुआ है वहाँ पर जिस समय हम लोग चलने लगे उस समय भी भूकंप हुआ है
An interministerial team comprising of senior officials from Ministries of Home, Defence, External Affairs and NDMA are in Nepal to coordinate rescue and relief operations. The government hopes to evacuate more stranded Indians as well as foreigners out of the quake-hit country. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, we'll get you minute by minute details of all whatever is happening in Nepal, but we'll take a very short break here. Stay with us for more news. All right, welcome back after the break. You're watching the Breakfast News, and now let's get you the ground situation in Nepal. Rajesh Badal, who is the Executive Director with the Rajya Sabha TV, joins us live from Kathmandu now. Rajesh, now Nepal's Prime Minister says that as many as 10,000 people could have died in the quake. Now there has been an increase in relief and rescue operations, but what is the latest situation on the ground? Because we have heard reports of aid not reaching the remote areas.
Aishwarya, in fact, it's a bright sunshine today and it's a pleasant morning, but we can't say about weather. So, दोपहर में अगर बारिश हो जाए, राहत कार्य भी शुरू हो गए हैं। ताज़ा स्थिति तो ये है कि जिनको बाहर जाना है नेपाल से भेजा जा रहा है, so they are returning, जा रहे हैं, लौट रहे हैं और इंडियन आर्मी, नेपाली पुलिस, नेपाल की आर्मी और जो तमाम देशों से लोग आए हुए हैं वापस जाने वालों को मदद कर रहे हैं। रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन अभी शुरू हो गया है बड़ी सुबह से, लेकिन जो इंटीरियर इलाके हैं, जो अंदरूनी इलाके हैं, जो रिमोट एरियाज़ हैं, उनमें अभी मदद की अभी भी ज़रूरत है और कल से आज तक कोई चेंज नहीं है। अभी उनको खाने की दिक्कत है, दवाइयों की दिक्कत है, उनको पानी की दिक्कत है और सबसे बड़ी ज़रूरत है वो है इलाज की, क्योंकि डॉक्टर उनके पास अवेलेबल नहीं है और जो शव मलबे में दबे हैं वहाँ महामारी फैलने का खतरा है।
All right, Rajesh, thank you so much for that. We'll keep getting back to you for more on that story. Let's move on in the bulletin now. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley defended Prime Minister Narendra Modi's scan to scale India remark in Rajya Sabha yesterday. The opposition raised objection to the Prime Minister's remark made during his trip to Canada. Deputy Chairman PJ Kurian disallowed the notice for discussion on the issue, after which the Congress members marched into the well. The party also demanded the Prime Minister's reply on the controversy. The House was adjourned thrice as BJP and Congress traded barbs.
Prime Minister's remarks on the last 60 years of governance in India triggered sharp protests in the Rajya Sabha on Tuesday. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley rejected the charge that Prime Minister lowered the dignity of India by making the remarks in Canada. Jaitley also took potshots at Congress, saying scams during the UPA's rule must also be discussed if there are objections to PM's remarks.
There is no gag order, and the Prime Minister of India is perfectly entitled to say that what happened in the last 60 years, we will break away from that and present an honest government to the people of India.
Deputy Chairman P.J. Curran rejected Congress leader Anand Sharma's notice for suspension of business to take up discussion on the matter. However, the opposition parties joined ranks in condemning Prime Minister's statement, stressing that it belittled India's image.
टोरंटो कनाडा के अंदर दो बातें कही गई। एक बात ये कि मेरे प्रधानमंत्री बनने से पहले स्कैम इंडिया था, अब स्किल इंडिया होगा। भारत स्कैम नहीं हो सकता। भारत महान संस्कृति है, देश स्कैम नहीं हो सकता। उन्होंने कहा 60 साल की गंदगी है, एक मिनट में खत्म करूं। 60 साल की गंदगी है, 60 साल की गंदगी छोड़कर गए हैं, उसको साफ करने की जिम्मेवारी मेरी है। प्रधानमंत्री ने देश की छवि को खराब किया, अपने पद की गरिमा को छोटा किया।
इस देश के भीतर इतनी पार्टियां हैं, उतने ही मतभेद हैं, लेकिन देश में एक आम सहमति है कि हम बाहर एक हैं।
जब हमारे देश का प्रधानमंत्री तो किसी भी कंट्री में जाता है तो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी की ये जिम्मेवारी बनती है कि अपने देश की गरिमा को ध्यान में रखते हुए तो वहाँ पर कोई ऐसी बात नहीं करनी चाहिए जिससे कि हमारे देश की गरिमा के ऊपर आँच आए।
वहाँ जाके प्रधानमंत्री विपक्ष पर या 60 साल के कचड़े पर, गंदगी पर या स्कैम पर बात करें, उसमें तो अटल जी की भी 9 साल की सरकार।
As the opposition and treasury benches parted, the House was adjourned thrice and question hour could not be taken up.
House is adjourned up to 12:00 hours.
War of words refused to subside even as the allegations and counter-allegations continued outside the upper house too.
न ही प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कोई ऐसी बात वहां की है जो किसी ऑब्जेक्शन या एतराज के काबिल हो, क्योंकि ये कहना कि अब भारत में हम स्वच्छ सरकार दे रहे हैं, अलॉटमेंट्स डिस्क्रिशनरी नहीं होंगे जो 60 साल तक चलते रहे, ये एक स्वाभाविक है।
It is unacceptable, it is condemnable, it is shameful that a Prime Minister has conducted himself in this manner. He has broken the time-honored convention.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi made a pitch for a transformative India with a promise to turn the country into global workforce hub while addressing the Indian diaspora in Toronto during his recent 3-nation trip earlier this month. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in the lower house of Parliament, Home Minister Rajnath Singh advocated for a strong anti-conversion law. Speaking during the debate on grants to Home Ministry, Rajnath Singh said that strong action will be taken against anyone trying to disturb the secular fabric of the country. He also said that the government is committed to ensure internal security.
Replying to opposition's questions over the Ghar Wapsi program, Home Minister Rajnath Singh once again called for a strong anti-conversion law to stop religious conversions in the country. He said that it is the responsibility of the government to guarantee the safety of minorities. He also said the responsibility squarely lies on the state governments too.
और मैं समझता हूं घर वापसी हो, धर्मांतरण, इसको लेकर कम्युनल हार्मनी के ऊपर जो क्वेश्चन मार्क समय-समय पर लगता रहता है, तो शायद इसको दूर यदि हम करना चाहते हो, यदि ये सभी सदन सहमत हो, तो एक बार यह फैसला कर दे कि हम यहाँ एंटी कन्वर्जन बिल सर्वसम्मति सदन में पारित करेंगे। मैं समझता हूँ कि फैसला हो गया।
The opposition demanded clarification from the government over recent attacks on religious institutions across the country. Parties urged the government to ensure the security of minorities.
तो हमको मिला विजय कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, विश्राम से मत सोओ, इतने समस्या आपके सामने है, सत्य से दूर मत जाओ, सत्य से कहो जो चीज आपके सामने है देश के हित में, आप ये सब क्लैरिफिकेशन हमारे सामने रखिए।
Questions were also raised over the internal security challenges faced by the centre. Home Minister admitted that his ministry hasn't received funds to modernize police forces.
जो 14th फाइनेंस कमीशन की जो रिकमेंडेशन आई है, उसमें जो रिपोर्ट आई है, उसमें ये उसे समाप्त कर दिया है। वैसे ही इंटीग्रेटेड एक्शन प्लान, जिसे अब ACA कहते हैं, उसे भी समाप्त कर दिया है। CCTNS उसे भी समाप्त कर दिया है। लेकिन इस संबंध में हमारी प्रधानमंत्री जी से भी बात हुई है, वित्त मंत्री जी के साथ हमारी बातचीत हुई है, और हम लोग ये सोच रहे हैं कि इसका विकल्प कैसे तैयार किया जाए, कैसे इसका समाधान निकाला जाए। इस पर हम गंभीरतापूर्वक विचार कर रहे हैं।
The Home Minister also assured the House that the government is trying to prepare better to deal with natural calamities. After unseasonal rains, the government is facing crisis after massive earthquake that hit the entire northern part of the country. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, in days after the government cracked the whip against Greenpeace and Ford Foundation, the Home Ministry has cancelled the licenses of nearly 9,000 NGOs receiving foreign funds. Now, this move is seen as an escalation of government control over the NGOs for opposing views on economic policies. But the opposition has raised strong questions over the move, saying that a proper investigation of NGO funds are called for first.
This time, it's a far bigger crackdown. Licenses of 8,975 entities cancelled. Citing violation of the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, the biggest such action under this law. The Ministry of Home Affairs says the decision was taken as the associations failed to comply with the regulation of filing annual returns. The ministry claims the associations were provided due time after notices were issued against them for not filing returns between 2009 and 2012. Lawyers and politicians backed government's decision for more transparency in the working of the foreign-funded NGOs, but they cautioned against victimization of those not in line with the government's policies.
इसमें अगर कोई राजनीतिक एजेंडा है कि जो सिर्फ जो सरकार को क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हैं उनके खिलाफ एक्शन लेंगे, नेचुरली हम तो ये कभी मानेंगे नहीं. वी विल बी अपोजिंग इट. लेकिन अगर कोई ऑब्जेक्टिव न्यूट्रल प्रोसीजर है तो नेचुरली इसमें तो ये तो सरकार की जिम्मेदारी तो करना ही चाहिए.
The government's actions have raised questions on this being a political method to contain the growing dissent and NGOs' campaign against many industrial projects.
It seems that the government seems to be targeting select organizations only when they find that these organizations are contributing to those smaller NGOs who are raising a critical voice of opposition and they are raising criticism. And I think that this is not in our democratic culture of our country.
It must not appear to the people of this country that such NGOs which are always finding fault or criticizing the government or pulling up the government for their misdeeds should not be at the receiving end and should not be victimized singularly.
Only last week, the government had suspended the FCRA license issued to Greenpeace India and frozen their 7 bank accounts. The ministry alleges the NGO had misused its foreign funds for political activities which affected the country's public and economic interests. The Home Ministry also put Ford Foundation, a powerful international NGO, under the prior approval category and also on its watch list in the interest of national security. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, let's get a perspective on that story. Anjali Bhardwaj, who's the secretary with the National Campaign for People's Right to Information, is now joining us. Anjali, thank you so much for joining us this morning on Rajya Sabha TV. Anjali, now coming in the wake of government first suspending the FCRA registration of Greenpeace India and then putting Ford Foundation on the watch list, is this present action against close to 9,000 NGOs warranted?
Well, let me begin by saying that all organizations, including non-government organizations, need to function with transparency and accountability and need to adhere to the laws of the country. If there are any violations which need to be stated up front by the government, if there are any violations, then of course action must be taken against anybody, any organization which is responsible for those violations of laws. However, having said that, let me also state that increasingly we are seeing a trend, and in fact this is something that we have seen with successive governments, but increasingly with this government we have been seeing a trend where organizations individuals who raise dissenting voices, who raise issues of human rights violations, of environmental laws being flouted, which are inconvenient to the government, seem to be getting targeted. And I think that is a very, very concerning trend. And in this particular case of these 9,000, close to 9,000 NGOs that for whom FCRAs have been withdrawn and action has been taken, I think it would be extremely prudent. It's very necessary that the government come out publicly in terms of stating why this action is warranted, so that it does not look like an exercise in witch hunting. The reasons, the causes need to be clearly put out in the public domain. Action also needs to be taken transparently.
Right, but Anjali, at the same time, there are reports of activists actually taking help from foreign countries to stall India's economic growth. Is there any truth to that? And if there is, do you think Modi government is justified of actually being suspicious of foreign-funded aid organizations?
Look, there are certain actions that are taken by non-government organizations and by individuals when they see that there is wrongdoing by the government, when they notice that there are human rights violations, when they notice that forests are being destroyed, environmental laws are being flouted. And I think that they are perfectly within their rights in a democracy to take that action, to raise their voice. Now, whether those organizations can or cannot take foreign funds is something that is decided by the laws of this country. There is an FCRA law. There is nothing wrong with organizations taking foreign funding if they require to take it, as long as they do it in an accountable manner. But when organizations that raise these fundamental issues of violations of rights, of human rights, these organizations must not be targeted in a democracy. After all, in a democracy, what really is important is a space for dissent. When there is wrongdoing, when there are violations, when there is corruption, there must be adequate space for organizations and individuals to raise their voice to stop that wrongdoing. And I think what we have seen, which is very, very concerning in the last 1 year, is this whole noise around anti-nationalism. This term of anti-national being used to ascribe motives to certain organizations, to certain individuals that seem to be raising voices which are not convenient for the government is very, very concerning. When in a process of a development project, if there are some violations, then those violations need to be raised, and if that leads to some stalling of projects which are involving human rights violation, I think there is nothing wrong with it. All that needs to be done is that those human rights violations need to be corrected, environmental laws need to be adhered to.
All right, so the government really needs to tell the people why is it taking the action that it is taking. Well, thank you so much, Anjali, for joining us this morning and sharing a perspective on that story. And on to West Bengal now. Well, Trinamool Congress has swept the state civic polls. The party scored a landslide victory in the Kolkata Municipal Corporation polls, bagging 114 of the 144 wards and 69 of the 91 civic bodies in other parts of the state. The victory comes as another shot in the arm for Mamata Banerjee, who has been under attack over the Sarada Chit Fund scam. Now, the victory is also significant for the TMC chief, who is hoping for a second term when the state votes for a new government in less than a year. However, opposition parties have raised a shrill pitch over allegations that the ruling party resorted to violence and adopted unfair means to win the polls. They have also called for a statewide shutdown in protest. On to some international news now. Well, Indonesia sparked instant global condemnation by executing 8 convicted drug smugglers last night. And Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott called the executions cruel and unnecessary, while Nigeria and Brazil said that the killings would strain relations. Take a look.
Executed at gunpoint, ignoring global appeals, 12 firing squads shot at 8 drug traffickers in Indonesia's Besi prison. The 9th convict, a Filipino woman, Beloso, has been spared for now on suspicion that she may have been framed.
Kita ingin hidup damai, yang kita musuhi bukan mereka. Ya, kita bukan musuhi negara-negara tertentu, tetapi yang kita musuhi adalah kejahatan yang sangat serius.
We are overjoyed with the fact that Mary Jane Veloso lives. This is all because of the efforts of the Filipino people and the international community.
The horrifying executions have strained Indonesia's relations with Australia, Nigeria and Brazil. Australia recalled its ambassador in protest against the execution of 2 of its citizens. Amnesty International called the executions utterly reprehensible.
These executions are both cruel and unnecessary. Australia respects the Indonesian system. We respect Indonesia's sovereignty. But we do deplore what's been done, and this cannot be simply business as usual.
Candlelight vigils were held outside the Indonesian embassy.
Of course, we're very sad, we're very outraged that the execution is supposed to push through despite the massive global appeal for President Widodo to stop the execution.
All through the time leading up to the executions, Indonesia remained adamant that the punishments were just part of a larger government effort to combat illegal drug trafficking. Indonesian President Joko Widodo insisted that they would not be swayed by appeals for clemency in a country that's struggling with drug crisis. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
That's all in Breakfast News. Thanks for watching.